We're going to do our first example. We're going to find the coordinates of point Q on our unit circle shown below. So we're going to find the XY coordinates of that point Q. So in order to do that, first we need to realize it is a unit circle. So the unit circle means that our radius is 1. And then I'm going to draw in our height and our horizontal distance. So that's going to give us our X and Y coordinates. And it also makes a right triangle. So we're going to start by doing what we learned in a previous lesson, which is finding the height of point Q is finding the sine of the angle. So we're going to start by finding the sine of 70, which is 0.9397. So I'm going to label our height up here. And then all we have left to do now is to find our horizontal distance, which is x. So we have a couple of options here. The first option I'm going to show you is using Pythagorean theorem. So we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Our hypotenuse, which is c, is 1. And then our b value is going to be 0.9397. And a is going to be x. So we have x squared plus 0.9397 squared equals 1 squared, which gives us 0.883 equals 1. And then we're going to solve by subtracting that on both sides. So we have x squared equals 0.117. And then to get our x by itself, we're going to square root both sides, which gives us x is about 0.342. So then we have our coordinates for Q are going to be at the point 0.342, comma 0.9397. So our other option for this is to use trig ratios all the way across. So our hypotenuse is always 1 since that's the radius of our circle. We already know that the height is going to be sine. And then we also can figure out, since this is the adjacent side to 70, it is going to be the cosine of my angle. So another way to find the coordinates of your point would be to take the cosine of your angle and the sine of your angle, and that would give you your x and your y coordinates. So in our next example, we are going to be given the sine, and we need to find the coordinates of Q. So if we go ahead again and draw in our triangle, if we know the sine is 2/5, that's another way of telling us the height is 2/5. And then we're looking for the x coordinate. So again, we have that right triangle, so we can go ahead and use our Pythagorean theorem. So we have x squared plus 2/5 squared equals 1 squared. Now this is always going to be without a calculator, so we're going to have to use our fraction rules here. So don't be scared of those fractions, it's not that bad. So in order to square our fraction, we're going to square the top and the bottom, so numerator and denominator. So we have x squared plus 4 over 25 equals 1 squared is just 1. Okay, and then we're going to solve for our x value by subtracting 4/25. So we have x squared equals 1 whole is the same as 25 over 25. So if we take 4 of those away, we have 21 over 25. And then to get x by itself, we are going to square root both sides. Okay, and again, to square root a fraction, we would square root the top and square root the bottom, which gives us the square root of 21 over 5. And then remember, when we square root a variable squared, we should have a positive or a negative sign. So we have positive or negative square root of 21 over 5. But since Q here is in the first quadrant, so in the positive realm here, we know that our x value is actually going to be positive. So we have positive square root of 21 over 5, which then we can put together into our points, which would be square root of 21 over 5 and 2/5.